Want to know which stocks are set to skyrocket and which ones you should watch for a perfect dip? From Apple's sneaky rebound potential to Nvidia's AI dominance, AMD's chip war with the giants, Uber's robotaxi revolution, Palantir's insane growth, and a penny stock gem like ATAI that's already made me thousands of dollars. This video breaks it down, and stick around to the end for my top tips on building a portfolio from 100,000 to millions with a long-term strategy that your future self would thank you for. Let's dive into it. So before we start this video, I'm already going to give you guys the tickers. I'm going to be explaining them more later on in the videos, some good buy targets, and how to make the best plays so I don't waste your time because maybe you're just looking for the tickers. So the stocks that we're going to be looking at today is going to be Apple, AMD, Uber, Palantir, Nvidia, and a penny stock, and I'm keeping it until the end. But let's get started. So first one on the list, we're going to be starting off with one that's gotten beaten recently. Okay, I'm not even going to lie, Apple, man. Watch Apple at around that 190 to that 180 and wait for another rebound. It normally goes to that 190 level and rebound back to that 200 to 205. We've been seeing that recently. We're on the day chart and we've been seeing it bounce below that 200 and then easily bounce back multiple times, getting to like the lows of like 193 and then bouncing back after that. But if you do see something like we've seen in April where it fell all the way below that 170 level, you get a very good rebound, especially for your long term and or just a call option overall. But Apple has been getting beaten, man. They get sued a lot. AI isn't really doing as good. And their WWDC that happened like almost a month ago now, which is insane to think about. But it didn't really satisfy investors so much. With all that being said, we have been trading around that 203.5 to that 200 range and honestly just been bouncing up and down ever since then. You could scope out a tiny play, like if it bounces down to that 200, you may be able to get like a little bit of a rebound. But honestly, I personally wait until Apple gets down below that 200, maybe even like here, as you've seen, like it got down to like 199.5 and it quickly rebound back up to 202 to 202.5, which would be a great return, especially for a day trader. I personally trade options myself, and I also have Apple in my long-term portfolio. But for my long-term, I'm personally scoping it out at around that 190 flat. But as we can see, even a couple of days, we might fall below that 200 as well. But if you guys play like 2 to 3 weeks out, you can make a decent amount of money on option plays with Apple. But I personally just want to see if we can break out of this range up or down, and then you can play a play based on that. But Apple, man, honestly, just have your patience. Wait for some good news to come out, maybe some better news for their AI or announcement of a new item, because they really didn't really announce like the new MacBook, a new, like nothing really new. They only announced their software, which people don't really care about if I'm being honest. But they do have a big reach. They have Apple TV. I mean, they're very diverse, but honestly, man, I'm just waiting for a new product or something to come out to honestly invest into it more heavily. But I've been watching these levels for a while, a couple of days, honestly, waiting for a breakout so I can actually make a play, but have Apple on your radar. Next one on the list, man, is indeed AMD, and we're pushing upwards once again. But if you guys look at this chart right here, right, it's kind of matching Nvidia a little bit, just a little bit. Nvidia has been holding up a little bit stronger than AMD, but they honestly have been moving kind of similarly. With that being said, AMD has been benefiting a lot recently with some great chip news, even making one to compete with Nvidia's Blackwell. AMD has some great movement to the upside, but also beware of pullbacks, especially if you can load up at around that 120 to that 130 level. If you see a bounce from that, you can make a lot of money. You can load up your long term and even call options to go to the upside even more. But remember, having a long term is good. So follow my 100K to millions journey if you're interested in long term. It's not quick cash, but your future self would thank yourself. So I do recommend having a long term overall. But honestly, right now with the levels of stocks, I do recommend having your patience, waiting for a little bit of a pullback, maybe getting into, more like staple stocks or something like that for now. Diversify into stocks that aren't moving it that strong. Especially right now, we're kind of in like a tech rally. But with that being said, man, we were around that 130 level. So if we do get a pullback back down to that 130, you start seeing some good chart momentum back up to the upside, you make a decent money on a call option 2 to 3 weeks out. And honestly, that could be a lot of money, especially imagine if you got it here at that like 127 level and now it's all the way up to that 145. You would have made a lot of money. But with that being said, chip stocks and stuff like that are going up a lot. But I think for the overall market, because the overall market's making new all-time highs, especially like Nvidia, the SPY's close to it. I think we're just waiting on, one bad news thing to come out and then maybe have a little bit of a pullback with overall stocks. So honestly, have your patience with that as well, because we might see a pullback soon and or some bad news come out. But recently, man, we've been getting a lot of good news and the market has been moving strong off of it. But before we get to the next one, man, I got a little ad for y'all, man. Want to trade smarter and grow your portfolio like a pro? From catching Apple's rebound to banking thousands on ATAI, my website, nextgenwealthtips.com, has everything you need to win in the stock market. And right now, we have killer deals going out for my ebooks. Learning is key and investing in yourself is the best thing you can do. So check these out if you guys want. I also come out with daily blogs with hot stocks to watch like Nvidia, Uber, and Palantir, plus market news and trading plays. So first link in the description below if you guys are interested. Thank you. So next one on the list is indeed Uber. Just look at the movement with this thing. Honestly, moving up pretty well. But this one's looking pretty good. Uber has shown robust growth with a 52% year-to-date stock increase and a market cap of $175 billion. Its financial health is rated great by Investor Pro. It is also a well-diverse company with their food delivery, Uber Eats, advertising, and freight. Its Uber One membership and partnerships such as Coco Robotics or Urban Delivery enhance its ecosystem. Uber's partnership with Waymo, Volkswagen, and WeRide for robotaxi services, including recent launches in Austin and Atlanta, position it as a leader in the AV space. With 170 million monthly active users and 18 global AV partnerships, Uber is building a scalable, low-cost driverless mobility platform, potentially expanding its total addressable market. And honestly, launching its driverless cab before Tesla and kind of looks like it's beating robotaxi business right now. Analyst ratings are largely positive with 10 buy ratings, no sell ratings, and an average price target of $96.87. High of 115 and low of 76, but you guys know how price targets work. It's probably going to hit that 95 to 96, and people are going to start raising their price targets even more, making the stock look bullish overall. But I do recommend looking into Uber, especially if you're an option trader yourself, especially if we see some more price movement to the upside. Look for that 95, 96.5, and that $100 level next. But honestly, do expect a pullback, maybe pull back down to that 91 to that 90 level, maybe a little bit of a bounce. I'm personally looking at that $90 level, seeing how it reacts. And if we don't bounce below that and we start looking like we're kind of bullish a little bit more past or like at that $90 level, I'm personally buying some call options. But if we do bounce below that 90, I might buy some put options to fill this gap back down, maybe to that 87 or even all the way down to that $84 level. But right now it is looking pretty bullish. And honestly, I'm pretty bullish on the stock overall. So next one is Palantir. A lot of people talk about Palantir. They recently just had a deal and they're going into nuclear, which is another diverse company. And I think it's like $100 million deal over the next 5 years. But Palantir has shown insane growth and love from a lot of investors. If you guys don't know, Palantir was like a $30, $40 stock at one point, and honestly just spiked up quickly. Like look at this. Just look at this, man. Golly. A lot of people made a lot of money. I personally did too. But honestly, man, look at this. Like all the way down, it was like 24 to like $30 and then instantly spiked up after some good earnings. And just honestly, man, they got government contracts. It's a pretty safe stock and they're pretty diverse. So I do recommend getting into Palantir, having this on your radar, especially as a day trader. I personally made a lot of money day trading it on options, but they have insane growth. Palantir's bullish case rests in its stellar revenue growth, AI platform demand, and strategic government and commercial contracts, positioning it as a leader in data analytics and AI. However, its lofty valuation, mixed analyst sentiment, insider selling, and ethical concerns surrounding government contracts create bearish risk. Recent news highlights its stock record highs, driven by partnerships and geopolitical developments, but valuation concerns and potential regulatory scrutiny could cap upside. Investors should balance growth potential against speculative risk and conduct thorough due diligence. With that being said, man, Palantir benefits both ways, as we've seen recently with this war. If US gets into a war, since it has a lot of like government contracts, Palantir is going to be benefiting a lot off of wartime events, and it's also going to benefit a lot off of the tech rally. So you get the best of both worlds, especially if we get back into a war. Hopefully not, though. Hopefully we stay peaceful. But honestly, Palantir is a great stock to watch. we're kind of on the upper side. So honestly, I'm personally watching the 145 level, 145.5 actually. And then past that, I'm gonna look at the 147, 148.5, and that 150 level next for Palantir. We might have a little bit of a bounce off of that 150 and or break right by it. Just depends on how everything goes. So have Palantir on your radar. Next one is NVIDIA. What is a video like this without including NVIDIA? So NVIDIA's bullish case is driven by its AI market dominance, stellar financials, and strategic expansion into gaming and green tech, supported by strong analyst backing, a relatively attractive valuation. However, its high PE, competitive threats from big tech and Chinese innovators, geopolitical risk, and insider selling fuel bearish concerns. Recent news highlights a record stock high, positive analyst upgrades, and supply chain strength, but volatility and trade tension remains risky. Investors should weigh NVIDIA's long term AI leadership against short term valuation and competitive pressures. With that being said, man, we're so close to that 4 trillion market cap. Now we're at 3.78 trillion. So honestly, comment down below if you guys think we'll hit that 4 trillion. But honestly, I think we might be able to, man. We're looking pretty bearish. Yesterday, we kind of had a little bit of a slowdown with this recent rally. And honestly, after hours, we are looking pretty good. So I'm personally looking at that 156.5, 157.5, and that 160. And a little bit of an inside. I personally have a call option at that 151.98. And I might sell it today and or I might not. Just depends on how it looks and news that comes out today and how the overall market looks. But I'm personally might sell it today. But honestly, we've been getting a lot of good news with AI overall, like Microsoft and stuff like that, expanding more and people talking more about that AI race that companies are doing individually now. So I think NVIDIA is going to keep on benefiting. They're literally the powerhouse of AI. And I think they're still going to be benefiting in like long term. People, I mean, we have a price target increase of like $250 now. So honestly, it's looking pretty bullish. I don't know how far this stock can go, but honestly, it's still going. All right, so last but not least, man, I got that penny stock I was talking about. So I made a bunch of money off this one. I buy and sell it in my long term. I made over $5,000 in my long term, which is one of my biggest holdings, low key. I just buy and sell this one at certain levels. I'm personally waiting for it to hit that $2 level once again. And if we can get that $2 level, I'm buying some more shares. Okay. And then after that, I might sell it. I normally sell it at around that 258 to like that 240 level. I think last time I sold at like 245 to 246. But honestly, I'm waiting for that $2 level once again. If you buy a bunch of shares of this is only if you're like willing to buy a bunch of shares, of course. But if you buy a bunch of shares, especially at like that $2 level, or if you fall down even more, you might be able to buy even more. But I'm personally waiting for that $2 level. I'm gonna sell it at around that 258. That's what I normally wait for. And this low range right here of $1, that'd be insane to get it. I think the stock is gonna be dead at that point. So if it does fall all the way down here, I would not buy it no more. But now a penny stock that I personally love, ATAI Life Sciences. So bullish case is driven by its strong year-to-date performance, promising clinical pipeline, and strategic merger with Beckley Fiztech, backed by a solid cash position and analyst optimism. However, bearish concerns include sector volatility, a lot of financial losses, regulatory risk, of course, with stocks like this, and competition. Recent news highlights the merger, positive clinical data, and analyst support, tempered by sector-wide dip from Compass Pathways trial results. Investors should weigh ATAI's growth potential in a growing mental health market against clinical and regulatory uncertainties. But please do your own research since it's a penny stock. When I invest in penny stocks, I'm willing to hold them for a long time and set stop losses on them as well. I've recently invested in this stock, Math, and it is currently down $300, which isn't a big loss yet, but that's one that I betted on and haven't made any big moves yet. So honestly, keep in mind that penny stocks can make or break you. Honestly, I'm personally might load back up at like that 289 level. But with that being said, man, Math hasn't really looked too good. And this is one penny stock that I betted on and honestly didn't really do too well so far. But I'm personally having my patience in this one as well. I'm not telling you guys to buy this one. I'm just giving you guys one that I didn't really do too well on, just to be honest with you guys. But with that being said, man, stock market is looking pretty good overall. And I thought this video was best to give you guys some plays to get into. Smash the like button, subscribe if you guys are new. Check out the site, first link in the description below. Up your investor knowledge, especially on the weekend. You want to become profitable. Learning is the best way. But comment down below stocks that you guys are watching and subscribe. Let's get to 500 subs. See you guys in the next one. Peace out.